You're listening to the AFTERBUZZ TV Network, now the largest new media platform on the web, and your #1 source for after-show entertainment.
Very good, Dean Johnson.
From the AFTERBUZZ Studios in Los Angeles, California, presented by Maria Menounos and streaming live thanks to Akamai Technologies, this is AFTERBUZZ TV Salem After Show. We'll break down tonight's episode and get you all the latest news and gossip. And now, another post-game wrap-up show for your favorite TV show. It's AFTERBUZZ TV Salem After Show.
Hey everybody, welcome into the Salem After Show right here on AFTERBUZZ TV, Season 1, Episode 9, Children, Be Afraid. This was a great episode and we've got a lot to talk about today. I'm your host, Bobby DeMuro, joined as always by Marisa Serafini. Hello. We are colorful on this side of the panel today. I love it. I like it. And on the other side of the table, we've got the wonderful Koppel and the amazing Jessie Owens. Ladies, how you doing?
Good.
Now, we're going to talk a lot about spiders in a second because I know you guys are both terrified, Anna and Marissa, and that's okay because it is creepy. But before we get there, we'll talk about some other stuff. And before we start with the show, I want to remind you guys, Maria Menounos' new book, The Every Girl's Guide to Diet and Fitness, is out in stores right now. It was out on June 3rd. It is at Barnes & Noble and pretty much everywhere else books are sold. So if you haven't gone and gotten a copy yet, I know you three have. If you haven't gone and gotten a copy yet, go get one. It is good information for the summer, how I lost 40 pounds and kept it off, and how you can too. That sounds good to me. I don't know about you guys.
Sounds amazing to everyone.
You can stand to drop a few.
Wow.
Oh.
Wow.
No, you said it sounded good to you. I just...
Shots fired. Okay. All right, let's talk about spiders
You're
all
in perfectly perfect way, Bobby. You look amazing.
Wow. Well, I'm not voting for you for mayor anymore, Anna.
You are. There's no better choice.
And while I'm thinking about that, Twitter and social links and stuff like that, guys, if you haven't already, get on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at AFTERBUZZ TV. Hit follow and subscribe and like and whatever it is on each one of those social networks. We want to talk to you guys and interact with you guys, especially on Twitter. I know everybody's real active. We'll do our personal links at the end of the show, but get on, follow AFTERBUZZ TV, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Let's get started today. We've got a lot to talk about, and I want to start with Increase, because he is, like we mentioned in the last couple of weeks, the catalyst of the show now. He's made the show a lot better. It was not bad to begin with. I think we all enjoyed the first 5, 6, 7 episodes a lot, but since he's been here, crap's been hitting the fan, and he is, like Mercy, who we'll discuss in a second, a little bit of a dangerous character because he's threatening to murder people. He's not just a normal reverend. He's not a normal, whatever he is, a normal man of God or even just a normal man. Where do we start with Increase today? Because he starts in the jail and he lets Henry go. Emily's father, the drunkard, says, "You're not a witch," lets him go. And then...
I want to interrupt you really quickly. Just with that, I think was such a brilliant move. He holds up booze and what was that? I don't know, licorice root?
I thought it was some kind of food.
Some sort of root that clearly witches use in spells. Choose one. One's going to cure your malady, your ailing, whatever you're going through. And why doesn't he apply those simple techniques to all of the witches, all the people he accused?
Well, let's open up that question right now because you bring up an interesting point with him. Is he logically looking for witches, or does he have a personal vendetta against Mary and maybe other people because of what happened to his buddy George Sibley and because of what his son Cotton Mather's going through?
I think it's kind of both, because we know that Increase has a lot of personal tiffs with a lot of people already in town. And so he's going on that spiteful path in that way. But also, when it comes to a poor creature like Henry, he was just, a bystander pretty much. And I think Increase is smart enough to know, hey, this guy is just, being accused by someone else. I don't really think he's a real witch. And so I'm just going to let him go, give him a pass in that way. This simple out. Here's off. I know you're just a drunk. You're not a witch. So I think that's also, Increase can pick and choose who he really wants to accuse and who he knows isn't a witch. So that's his mentality. But I think, yes, I think he should go that route with, hey, these are 2 items, have a simpler, maybe black and white type of accusation.
Well, he seems to have certainly the enough knowledge of it to apply those types of I don't want to call them tricks, methods, but seems to like to instead do things like throw Mab over his shoulder and cry out through the streets. And
well, the thing about Increase, and I'm trying to rack my brain while you guys are talking about this, has he yet been wrong about a witch?
Something I think is interesting about Increase is he's picked only women to be witches. Like, all the men, like the drunkard, he let go easy. Isaac, which we'll get into that, I was even surprised he kind of let him go so easily. Like, it seems like he wants to point the finger more at women for being witches.
And with Isaac specifically is so dumb, and I don't mean that in such a disparaging way, but he's just, I called him a useful idiot when we were watching the show. I think Increase knows he is so dumb, but you're right about that, because Increase hasn't picked up anything on Magistrate Hale, for example. And yet he has picked up this thing on Mary, and he's hot on her trail, and he turns out with Tituba, and he's hot on their trail now, and we'll see what happens with Tituba. But my question with Increase is, has he been wrong about who's a witch? He picked out Mab. Mab picked out Gloriana, and Increase knew she wasn't a witch, so he let her go. He picks out now Tituba. He's hot on Mary's trail, who is a witch. So Increase, I don't know how much he knows, but he's batting 1,000 picking witches. Little does he know, he hasn't been wrong yet. I don't know what that means, though.
I mean, he has had, you know, proof, like the casting stones with Mab, like all these little things have been happening to give him kind of proof or suspicion that they are witches.
Yeah, well, we'll see what happens
It's
now.
evidential proof. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm interested what comes into play historically, because there's something called spectral evidence, which is how they picked out witches in 1692 in actual Salem, and it was kind of a crapshoot of people calling out witches, and spectral evidence was having visions and saying this person is a witch, and it was not evidence at all, but it was admissible in court. And I'm interested to see, it hasn't come into play yet in the first 9 episodes, I'm interested to see if spectral evidence ever comes into play now in the show with Increase. But whatever he's doing, he's so far batting 1,000. He may not know that. He may not have realized Tituba was a witch, and he may not have thought that Mab was a witch until that whole thing went down, but he hadn't been wrong yet. So.
I wonder if he'll call Mercy out, because, you know, obviously he knows how the drunkard got there. Mercy accused him. Now Mercy's accusing Tituba.
Interesting.
So I wonder if she's next.
You just made your first prediction.
Early. Sorry.
Really early.
I think that I'm going to stick with my prediction still that Increase is a witch. I'm still sticking with it, and that's probably how he's doing so well.
Well, he was in Mary's dream.
He knows what to look for.
But I think the reason why he was in Mary's dream is because, do you remember there were those markings all around George's bed of the ash of the 200-year-old witch that he burned himself?
Yeah.
I think that was some sort of...
Which was that Mab?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Also, I think another reason why Increase was in Mary's dream, because that's the person Mary's fearing the most. And dreams, you know, kind of go into the nightmare aspect, and I felt like subconsciously this is who Mary's afraid of. So it makes sense that Increase would be there accusing her of her biggest fear, of being a witch. So it makes sense that Increase was there in her dream.
Yeah. I wasn't clear that those ashes were Mab's.
I was. He said I burned the 200-year-old witch. I burned her myself. It was Mab after she died, and then was hung after her death, and then he burned her.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good chances that was Mab on the wall.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would not put it past him that he carries around burn wishes.
He probably does too.
I'm completely serious.
But that symbol was pretty much the Illuminati.
The triangle, the triangle inside the circle. Yeah.
The hello, Illuminati.
This is probably going really back, but did we ever, you know, when he was on the boat and he was like, I want to find the witch on this boat, there's a witch on this ship. Did they ever find one, or did he ever accuse his witch, or
well, remember, to your prediction point about him being a witch, that scene, the captain had his hands up on the deck, on the table, and captain said, where is the witch? And Increase whipped out the knives, or whatever it was, the daggers, and said, right here. Mm-hmm. So he could either have been, you know, being crazy, because he's frickin' crazy, or he could have actually admitted to somebody who he knew was going to die that he's the witch, and he actually is a witch, and that was actually not a red herring, but he actually is, and we should have taken him at his word. I guess we'll see about that. But I don't think we've seen anything else from the boat other than driving Increase here and bringing the Malum, of course.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And then Increase, another interesting scene with him, first off, he confronts Mary about George being spelled, and he is so sure of George being spelled, and Mary's terrified of that, and he's, again, dead right. about George being spelled. Little does he know, maybe he knows or doesn't know, but he is dead right about that. And then he confronts Isaac, because Mary gives Isaac that potion, and there's that interesting scene with Isaac and Increase, where Increase just essentially talks to Isaac about the greater world and talks to Isaac about what he's missing in the world and be on my team, and is so manipulative with Isaac. And this, Jessie, to me is where this really picked up the useful idiot nature for Isaac to me. You were talking about how he's never accused any of the men.
He's a naive being.
He's so naive.
I wouldn't say useful idiot. I would say naive.
Well, I don't.
And he's definitely, Increase is definitely playing off of his ignorance and naivete of the world.
Oh, 100%. And that's, I think, why he doesn't accuse a guy like that of being a witch. Even though Isaac is helping Mary and hurting Increase's cause, Increase knows Isaac is too... I'm sorry, he's too dumb to bother with,
He's
so if you
just
can
a
manipulate him...
fornicator.
That's true. Aren't we all, though? Let's be honest. We just don't have anything tattooed or, indentured into our head, luckily.
It's on your bucket list.
No. No, it's not.
To fornicate?
Well, no comment.
I think that's strike two.
I think I got to lose a couple pounds first, don't I?
Okay.
All right, moving on.
Oh my god.
But that brings up. You okay? Do you need a minute? You gonna? That brings up Isaac for us, because he and Increase have a little thing today. Now, Isaac in past episodes has flat out told John that he doesn't trust Increase. And so this dynamic, this relationship between him and Increase is interesting, because we know Increase has more power, more influence, more anger, more energy, more everything, more intelligence, all that sort of stuff. And Increase is playing chess while Isaac is playing checkers. However, Isaac also has good enough intuition to know what Increase is about. He may not know technical things of what's going on or may not understand the depth of it, but he knows Increase isn't a good guy. So Isaac, in these confrontation scenes where Isaac is supposed to watch over George, it's an interesting dynamic, because Increase probably leaves the room thinking he's won and he's got Isaac on his team. No. But Isaac says, I don't really know what's going on, but I'm not with Increase. I'm going to do what Mary told me to do, and I'm just going to do whatever it is, and maybe I'll do whatever I can to get around with Increase, but he's not on my team.
And it's exactly that, too, because Isaac knows that Increase is not the good guy. But also, Mary has been really one of the only people in town who's ever showed any sympathy or compassion towards Isaac after everything that has already happened to him in front of, the public eye. And Mary's the only one who's being nice to him and actually caring about him in some sort of way. So I think... And we know that Isaac doesn't like George, so he's not taking care of George just for George's well-being. He's taking care of it because he's doing it for Mary, because Mary's actually kind of being that friend towards Isaac. Not for Increase, not for George, it's for Mary.
And that's a big thing, because Isaac hates George so much.
So much. Therefore, he's doing it for Mary.
Exactly. He has to love Mary, or love, you know what I'm saying? He has to be on Mary's side that much more to overcome his hatred for George. Mm-hmm. Because he even says it when he's giving George the potion the first time before he gets caught. He's talking about how George made his life miserable and whatever the exact words were, and pacing back and forth, and then still gives him the potion because he knows his allegiance to Mary is more important than his dislike of George.
Yep. But he did say when you were at your weakest moment or most vulnerable moment, it was... the Reverend Mather Sr.'s name you called for, not your wife. So I think he also senses there's something that's not right going on there. So I don't know. He might just be playing for Isaac.
He could be playing for Isaac. Maybe that's an interesting point. He's being dumber than he actually is to get something of his own. I just don't know what he wants to get. I just always assumed he was on like the Cotton John team because of the way he looked at John in the last couple episodes. But you're right. He could be playing selfishly too. And that'll only come out in the next 4 episodes.
I think all of these years of being looked at as, an untouchable and less than whatever, and not having much interaction with anybody really, gives him an opportunity to, and Mary even said, let the secret stay between us, like so many of Salem's secrets, or let this stay between us, whatever the line was. He has an opportunity to observe a lot and just keep it. And so he might just be playing dumb, Who knows the real Isaac?
That's a great We're like into predictions way too early a couple times. That's a great thing, though, that he knows a lot more than maybe most mortals in Salem because of some of the stuff he's seen. He's on the Cotton John team. He's on the Mary team. He's gotten in with Increase, although Increase got very mad at him and literally kicked him out of the room or whatever. But he knows a lot of what's going on because he's the idiot that we can just tell whatever or use him or whatever. And if he can process all that in his mind, or if he's just playing dumb, he has a lot more power and a lot more knowledge than almost everybody else in town, I would imagine.
Yeah.
I agree. I think everybody thinks he's kind of like the dumb one because, like, whenever they knew he was the one that broke the circle, like, nothing even happened to him. So it's like, I think they just kind of accept he's just floating around town. That's
a good point. The first grand rite or the first circle that they did a couple episodes ago. Yeah, that's a good point. What else about Isaac? I think that's about it with him.
Well, I think between Increase and Isaac, just when Increase was kicking him out of the room, and he was just so mocking to him, and it was just great to see Increase like that too.
Yeah, Increase is angry and scary, but he's also kind of funny.
Yeah.
Like, and I think it's intentionally funny. It's not like unintentional bad acting by that actor. It's like intentionally a little quirky. You can't help but laugh.
He's a brilliant actor.
There's
nothing unintentional about it. Yeah,
it's amazing.
It is.
His voice is unbelievable.
Yeah.
And just the stuff he says, I wish I had written down more of his direct quotes, but some of the stuff he says, you have to laugh because he's so, what it reminds me of is it's somebody who, correctly or not, believes he is so much smarter than everyone around him. And so he's kind of constantly talking down to everybody. And of course he does it to Isaac, but he's sort of
condescending.
Yeah, he's doing it to everybody else too. And it's not just out of anger, but it's a little bit out of arrogance or frustration. Like, I can't believe I'm here and I have to do this. Like, it's funny. It really is funny. I love Increase in this storyline. I love that he came a couple episodes ago because it totally livened up this show for me. Thank goodness.
Well, also, if you think about it, the minute Increase came into the picture was the minute Mary's power start to decrease. So we had the whole power shift, and that's the reason why Increase is there, to release the bad person in town we thought was Mary for a long time. It's actually Increase.
Increase did say one thing to Isaac that I wrote down. You were a cretin and a failure. You're a cretinous failure. I'm just waiting for Anna to call me a cretinous failure, and then strike three, it'll be there.
Oh, you've already internalized all of that.
I'm just so scared.
It's done.
You're like,
it's done.
You know what this is? This is the group of teenagers in Salem, and you're Mercy Lewis. I'm just terrified of you.
Oh.
Yeah.
Children, be afraid.
I will say one last thing on Isaac. I thought it was really interesting how when Cotton was trying to butter Isaac up, he basically said, you're a role model for these children because you were a fornicator and now they know not to be a fornicator because look at your forehead. You know, like, it's like, oh, thank you. Thank you for using me as your example. Like,
but very patronizing.
Yeah.
Very patronizing.
Absolutely. Way to spin a negative story into a positive. He was exiled and all this terrible stuff happened to him, and oh no, but the children have learned from you because you were the fornicator and they won't fornicate now. I can't even say fornicate without kind of laughing because it's such a funny word, but in that time you would have had to use something like that. So
there's a silver lining in everything.
I guess there is. Okay, well, let's transition here because Increase not only is dealing with Isaac and George, and by the way, George, I can't wait to see what comes with George in the next few episodes because he's
tangled in a web.
It's going to hit the fan, and he's not going to be spelled for the next 4 episodes. He's going to speak a lot.
He can't.
No, I'm saying the spell's not going to continue because those are temporary spells. That potion went in and all that sort of stuff. So something will obviously come with him, but I can't wait to see what that is. But the other relationship Increase has of significance in this episode, of course, is with his son, old Cotton Mather. What was that noise?
Increase is such an a-hole. I swear. That was
how do you really feel, Marissa?
Okay, to say, recant that story about the day his son, was born, and then saying, and then you came along all flapping around and stuff. It was so negative. I mean, any good father would be like, I was so happy the day you were born, and like your wife, my wife was there and all that, and like I had a family, I had a son, I became a father, and then like you can tell with Increase's story that he resented Cotton ever being born and never showed love for his son the minute he was born.
I kind of disagree with that, actually. I took the story as being a little cute. Like it was cute. It was the softest Increase is going to get. because he's so tough and so mean that he kind of broke down to Cotton and said something along the lines of, you came along and you were a tangled mess of limbs and hair, which is not like a greatest compliment, but it's also a little bit goofy endearing.
Yeah.
I don't think that was endearing at all.
Really?
I thought that was more of an insult.
Because he said something like, you came along and showed me love, or what it was, or showed me what love was.
He started off, he was like, I didn't love your mother, and then you came along and you showed me that kind of love.
Boom. And then Cotton responds with, what's ironic is you took that love from me.
Yeah, he did say that.
But the point is, Increase talks about love.
Because I love Gloriana as I would love his son. No,
But does Increase really know the meaning of love? Like the true love?
I think that's the softest we're going to see Increase get.
I thought he was basically saying...
Unconditional love from a parent to a child. I don't think Increase knows that.
I think that you're confusing your idea of what like a father should be with Increase Mather.
I know, maybe I am.
Yeah, because I agree. I do think, no, it wasn't the warmest story I've ever heard of a father recalling the day his child was born. But yeah, and because he also followed that up with it, you were a tangled mess of limbs and hair, and you weren't much. But you were enough to show me love. And so, yeah, I do think this is the softest we'll ever see him.
Enough to show me love. Where's his love?
Yeah, and that's what he said. I didn't love your mother. I didn't love. Like, he had never loved in his life.
Exactly. I don't think Increase knows the real meaning of love.
And that's why he can't understand the Gloriana and Cotton. Which, can I say, it broke my heart when Cotton went into the divine, what was it called?
The divining rod? I love that you said that.
Went in there and, like, took Gloriana's, like, green, like, whatever that was, dress, shirt, I don't know.
Her little fabric, yeah.
I hated that. I thought he was such an idiot. I just had enough. And it's so funny because I said what Increase said to him later. I said, pull yourself together. This is like, stop. Just stop.
Rule number one.
But I mean, you have to remember, he's also like a holy, holy guy, and like he is like fornicating. So it's like that was probably a lot for him to do, being a minister or whatever. And so, I don't know. I just feel like that was his girl, you know?
Rule number one, you end a relationship, whether it's your choosing or not, because this one was not Cotton's, but if your relationship has been ended, get rid of her stuff. Don't go back. Don't think about it. It's only going to bring you down. It's tough enough.
But if they want to be together and it's his dad keeping them apart, that's a little different.
What are they going to do? Snapchat each other from thousands of miles away? They don't have that. They can't do anything.
Hey, who was it that predicted that they would find each other? It was you.
Yeah, I know. I mean, they will, but I'm just saying, in the meantime,
Listen to your own predictions.
Gloriana is left Cotton. She's coming for me. Cotton doesn't know that, okay? Don't even give me that look. Cotton doesn't know that they're going to get back together. And maybe we don't either because it was just a prediction, but you can't go with the fabric and it's too sad. You're depressing yourself. It's hard enough. You got to let go.
He's wallowing, all right? He's wallowing.
Can we go with not passing out in a cemetery?
That's the worst part. That's the worst part. You can't pass out in the cemetery.
No.
Death makes you tired.
Did you fall asleep or did you pass out?
Well, love makes you do stupid things. So there you go.
Isn't it funny, though, that relationship, too, with Cotton, now that we're on him, the dynamic between Cotton and John has changed so much. And before, John was kind of reckless and Cotton was way too uptight, this is the way everything is. And now Cotton is a train wreck. And even before Gloriana left, Cotton was lightening up a lot. And John has gotten more stern and more responsible and understands more of this stuff. And now John's babysitting Cotton as opposed to the other way around. Just a few episodes ago, remember, Cotton gave John the book and he was reading it upside down and Cotton had to turn it over for him. And now you've got Cotton passed out, wasted in a cemetery, and John's like, dude, come on.
It's kind of interesting, though, because they had, they made the comment that my father wanted me to be like you, my father, but now they're kind of like switching, kind of.
This is interesting. I didn't have this on News and Gossip, but I do remember reading this, that somebody interviewed Shane West, and I don't recall who it was. I'm sorry, whatever website it was, I apologize. But somebody interviewed Shane West and asked him about hanging out with Seth Gable and say, do you hang out off set? And Shane West responded, and he said, yeah, I mean, in Shreveport we do, but in L.A. we won't.
Oh, wow.
And I was kind of like, oh, okay.
And why won't you hang out?
All right. I assume he just meant like we run in different friend circles and it wasn't the biggest deal. Yeah. But to see that in print, you were kind of like, oh, damn. Sorry, Seth.
Fake friends.
Yeah. Exactly.
There's a lot of news about Shane West.
Yeah, Shane's been big.
Him and other guys. Interesting.
Okay, so Cotton glows the glory on his room, which was unbelievable to me, and then we don't see tons of him after that. I'm trying to rack my brain and looking at my notes. He does have the confrontation with Increase, an Increase, that scene about love and you know, Cotton being born and showing me love, and Increase tells him not to display that heartbreak so publicly. Is it, I guess the question for you guys about Cotton with Increase, is Increase concerned about him displaying heartbreak so publicly because of his station in life, no matter who the girl was, or is it just because the girl was a prostitute?
I think it's actually neither of those things, because when he leaves, he says to him, pull yourself together, there's much work to be done. And I think he actually wants and needs Cotton on his side here and in his corner. Cotton actually knows a lot about this stuff. He's very well educated on the subject. Doesn't have a ton of worldly experience, but does have a ton of education on it. That Increase does not have. So, and Cotton does, by the end of the episode, sober up enough to be there for another accusation. And his knowledge comes in quite handy. That's exactly it. He tells Increase what to do, and Increase, for the first time, is like, oh, that's a pretty good idea. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Oh, that's a thing? Okay, no, all right. Yeah.
Good to know.
Yeah, which was interesting in and of its own right. I guess we'll transition now from Cotton, Increase, everything like that. I don't want to leave anything on the table with the three of them, Cotton, Increase, and Isaac. But let's transition out to Mary. We'll talk about Mercy at the end. I can't wait for that. But let's talk about Mary first, because Mary has, I think, Marisa, you mentioned it, lost a lot of power and is kind of running on empty and kind of running horrified the entire time. Ever since Increase got here, Mary's demeanor has demonstrably changed. And then she's kind of interesting in how she works with John, because she goes up to John at one point, before we get into her situation with the witches and with Tituba and with Mercy, she goes up to John at one point and talks about how badly she needs her husband back, and John's kind of like, what are you talking about? You don't need him back. You don't love that guy. And obviously she can't tell John why she needs him back, but she really has to play a character in Salem now today, because she can't give away why she needs George back, and she can't give away what she did to George, and yet she desperately needs him back from Increase, and she's not getting him back.
I think it's interesting how Mary's acting now, because the earlier episodes of this season, she acted out of, you know, people were afraid of her. She had her strong demeanor and stature and her scariness, I guess, and power over other people. But now, since you take that away, what does she have left going for her? Her looks, her social status, but also people's sympathetic, you know, tendencies towards her. It's like, oh, you know, if anything happens to him, I'll become a widow. And we were talking about that last week. So, like, she only has her own personal vulnerabilities that she can play off of to make other people feel bad for her. And that's how she's still manipulating people, even though she might not have her, you know, her strong status or, like, her confidence anymore. That's the thing that she's going off of.
I don't understand why she can't stand up to Increase. Like, she has the power because she said, you know, with her husband still alive, she can make all the decisions. She has all this power. Well, use it. Like, if he won't give you your husband back, say, no, I'm taking him, whether you like it or not. Like, I don't know.
I think she's terrified. I mean, obviously she's terrified, but I think she's so terrified that Increase has not yet picked out a wrong witch. He's really hunting down the trail. And she mentioned it to Mercy when Mercy asked to kill him. She said something along the lines of, Increase is very well known nationally and internationally. Or she said New World and Old World. Increase obviously has so much power and respect that I think she is even in awe of him. And everybody else in town, she's been, at worst, demeaning and condescending to, and at best, standoffishly cold with. Everybody. Whenever she walks around town, how cold she was with Anne at one point early on a show, with those teenage girls, how cold she is. And when Increase comes to town, she was the biggest fish in the smallest pond, and now a significantly bigger fish has entered the pond. And so whether or not the witch thing has to do with anything, and it does, but even simpler than that, the relationship idea, Increase, is so much more powerful. And I think we can't forget Increase and George's relationship. Increase now directly speaks for George in a way and represents healthy George. When George was spelled and couldn't talk, it didn't matter because he was just hanging out like he was in a coma. But now that Increase is here, it's almost like, in a way, George is back. And the dynamic has changed, I think. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong about that part.
And the thing that's terrifying Mary also is that we see every episode Increase is getting closer and closer and closer to finding out Mary's an actual witch. And I mean, not to jump too ahead, but we even saw at the end of the episode, he was right on Mary's tail. Right there, and then something happened. And we'll get to that.
He made the accusation in the bar with her. He kind of hit me because remember she was like, "Just say whatever you have to say," basically.
Yeah, and right now, Mary, the only thing that's really saving Mary is herself because she's so smart. She knows how to intellectually get out of situations. And that's the only thing that's saving her.
And I'm glad you brought that up with Mary and Cotton and the accusation in the bar. That wasn't actually an accusation. I said, excuse my language, I said when that happened, when Anna and I were watching it, and Cotton didn't follow up on the accusation. Increase didn't follow up on the accusation. I said that was a bitch move because Mary called him out, got him in a trap, and said, you know what? Accuse me. Make the accusation. You're dancing around it. Accuse me. And he backed off. And that's the one time, this is two very powerful people going head to head, they're butting heads almost literally, and that was one time where Increase loses. He should have just made the accusation. I would have loved to have seen what happens if he says, you know what, I think you're a witch, and just called her out there, and he didn't do it, and he backed down, and I was a little disappointed in him.
I think he needed more proof. Like, he wanted to get more on her so he could call her out, which he did, and then she proved him wrong again, kind of.
But, and also for storytelling wise, to have that build up but then not happen, just to make the second situation even bigger, more big.
For sure.
Well, two things. I think first, accusations aren't nearly as fun in Salem unless you have an audience. And two, I think he has suspected Tituba more since the time in the woods.
Oh, why Tituba was there with George Sibley?
Right.
By the tree.
Yeah, he's like, what are you doing here?
I would also think with Tituba, because in the mortal realm she's a servant, and in the mortal realm she holds less power than Mary, it would be easier to pry Tituba away. And if you're Increase, and you know Mary is the witch, which I think he does, and he's on her trail, obviously, and you know she's the witch, instead of going after the big dog first, why didn't you cut the legs out from under the table? So go get Tituba, go get Mercy, maybe go get Magistrate Hale, and pick off a little bit smaller people one by one until Mary's left with no one. And then you can go get Mary. Not only will you have more evidence, and you can have an audience like you mentioned, but you also have taken away any of her allies. And so Mercy sells Tituba down the river. That's cool. Tituba's an easy get for him. We can get Mercy later, and then Mary's the big dog.
Unless Tituba, I don't want to give an early prediction, but maybe Tituba
We've been predicting all day.
Maybe she'll give Mercy away. And then it'll be like a big triangle, like everybody blaming everybody.
Her dad was asking for her back.
And Mercy's an immature witch. She's, she thinks she knows it all. Which, speaking of her dad asking for her, to see her, I thought that was really weird because, her dad was just trying to help her with the whole, exorcism, and I don't think it's fair that he can't see Mercy, but I do think it's weird that, the whole town's just, once again, okay with Mercy just living with it, Mary.
Yeah, why was Mary so cold to Reverend Lewis? The exorcism's one thing, but I feel like if you're as powerful as Mary and some of these witches' powers, you're not that concerned about an exorcism that Reverend Lewis is going to perform.
Yeah, I think that was another situation where Mary's actually taken ownership of Mercy now.
She said, Mercy's mine.
Yeah.
Or, alternatively, Mercy is such a loose cannon, and during the episode asked to murder 100 people, literally asked to murder everyone, that Mercy is such a loose cannon, maybe Mary fears that if Mercy gets out of her control and goes to Reverend Lewis or somebody else, Mercy might kill him or do something wrong, and that attracts the wrong... No, I don't even think that. I think Mercy will just kill Reverend Lewis or whomever and do something way off the cuff and attract the wrong kind of attention.
Yeah, she's such a rogue witch.
She's too young. You shouldn't have asked a teenager to be a witch.
No.
Huge mistake.
The teenager asked her to be a witch.
But you shouldn't have, welcomed her. Yeah. Such a mistake. Never let teenagers do anything.
No.
It was probably last minute, oh shit, she knows, so make her a witch, so then she can't tell on us.
Yeah, that's actually kind of what it was when it did happen. But even so, from day one, when Mercy killed Rose, slashed her throat, she's been a rogue cannon, and Mary's had to pay the price for that now. Because it strained Mary's relationship with Tituba very greatly. Tituba and Mary used to be very different, and then at one point they're arguing today, and Mary said something like, I wish you'd love me a little less, or whatever that line was.
Love me less and you'll love me better.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that relationship is very strained because of other things too, but really Mercy's been the catalyst for that, and now Increase is making it worse. And you've got Mary running with, again, not a lot of allies. She started so powerful, and then episode by episode, different allies have gone different places. We don't even see Magistrate Hale this episode. Do we see him for 1 second today?
No. I don't think so, no.
I mean, we will next week if it looks like with previews and stuff, but Mary is running out of allies. And let's talk about her scene in the woods with those two wart-covered witches, the one with the eyes that are kind of melted shut, the skin that's melted shut, and the cauldron. First question, before we get into the theme, the topic of it, the idea of what actually happened. Two witches with warts stirring in a cauldron. Too stereotypical to you guys?
Very Macbeth.
Yes,
Macbeth.
Absolutely. I didn't
Toil.
I didn't like it because it was too much like, oh, they're witches. Here's what they look like. It was a little too unimaginative. Am I wrong?
I mean, I see where they were going with it to give the idea of witches. So, I mean, I'm not against it, but, you know, I think they could have done without all the cauldron stuff.
I think they were trying to just hit the audience over the head. Hey, these are the witches.
I mean, a lot of it is like stereotypical. You know, the spells, the broomsticks, the spiders.
The spiders.
We'll talk about the spider in a second with Tituba. But I know you guys are just so excited to talk about that spider.
I have a different spider to talk about real quick. The web in Mr. Sibley's mouth, that was caused by Mercy, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, just wanted to clear that up because there was so many spiders going around.
I know there are a lot of spiders.
Actually, there was just like one spider going
It
around.
was two, right? Because Mercy had one, and then Tituba had her pet.
That was Tituba's
That was
spider.
Tituba's.
Mercy wants one, or wants a
Yeah, because
familiar.
Mercy doesn't
yeah.
have a familiar yet. That was just Tituba.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
There was
Because
one.
when Mercy and them were in the woods, they were like the chant that they were chanting something about spiders.
Yeah,
and,
they were calling it Tituba's spider.
Yeah.
That's interesting that Tituba's spider would listen to Mercy if
By the-
it's her familiar.
Light as a feather, stiff as a board.
You got a good.
Don't you remember playing
did you
that
ever
as a
play
kid?
that?
Yes,
I
at
played that
slumber
when I was a kid.
parties.
I was always the smallest one, and they would let
And
me up.
anytime you would lift up, you'd be like, "Oh my gosh, it's working!" And it's
Yeah.
like, no, we can just really lift.
No, because it's always the smallest person that you lift up.
Are you guys witches?
Did you guys know that
No,
you can
I was
actually,
always the board.
It really doesn't matter how heavy somebody is. If you just take your fingers like this and you put them under somebody's like armpits and knee sockets, you can lift them. Just takes 4 people to lift pretty much any size person. True story.
Good to know.
Fun facts
Fun
with Anna
fact.
Koppel.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Go on. Anyway. You guys
Okay.
Yeah, your next slumber party.
Yeah. Hey, that's a good idea. You guys should have a little witch slumber party, and you can like call out spells and stuff.
Hey, 100
Absolutely.
tweets.
I mean,
100
I plan
tweets.
on it.
We'll have
Lord, we're not doing that.
We'll have a slumber party.
We're not doing that again.
Dance, Bobby, dance.
All right, I have learned my lesson with asking people for tweets and doing things I don't want to do. Let's talk about our last subject, and that is Mercy, because we've been dancing, no pun intended, around it for a little while here. Mercy is terrifying. So, first question, before we get into what's going on with Mercy, a little open debate for you three. Who's scarier, Increase or Mercy?
Increase.
Mercy.
I think Mercy, because we don't know what Mercy is going to do.
Mercy.
I think Increase because he has more power and, like, yeah, Mercy does a lot of stuff, but she also surrenders kind of to Mary and she listens to her, where Increase doesn't listen to anybody except for himself.
But
a good
Mercy's
point.
also building her own army. She has all these minions now.
Yeah, listen, we said it when those girls came up on Henry Hopkins. Don't mess with teenage girls.
really
Terrifying.
children. That was so Children of the Corn. It was like
Those
scary.
girls were like, Henry Hopkins, you can't sit with us. Mean Girls reference.
Yes, yes.
All right.
Awesome.
You guys like that one? Good. No, listen, I think it's Mercy too. And the only reason I think Mercy's more dangerous than Increase, not only does Mercy have supernatural powers, and we don't know yet whether Increase does or not, but the other thing about Mercy is Increase has power and he knows he has power. And we've said this before about Mercy.
Everyone knows he
And
has
everyone
power,
knows he has
too.
power.
And when Increase makes a threat to kill someone's life, he's probably going to go through it because people know that he has killed people. So
Yeah, and he understands his power, and he understands you can't use it willy-nilly whenever you want. You have to pick and choose your battles to be really powerful, and he does that. Mercy has so little power relatively and no power in town that she's kind of a loose cannon wanting to show it off. You know, it's almost, I guess, in a weird way, like an inferiority complex about what it is. And she wants to show off that power, and she really doesn't care who she hurts. And she's requesting to kill people for Mary. She's like, let me kill that person. Let me kill that person. Like, what good are these powers if we don't use these powers? That's horrifying.
She wants to prove herself.
Yeah.
I mean, and there's psychological, she's kind of messed up in that way because, and also, it might not help that she's a teenager, so she is hormonal and angsty and has a lot of problems against her. And then the thing is with Mercy, because she is mysterious and we don't know what extent she'll do it and the reason behind why she wants to do it all. So that's what makes it more scary for me.
I think she's like, oh, that's a problem? Well, I can fix that problem. I can eliminate it. So let me just eliminate you. I think that's kind of how she's thinking.
But yeah, it's her intent. It's very spiteful and vindictive in every way that she's going about it.
Yeah.
Let's talk Mercy with Tituba. We've mentioned it a little bit with Mary's relationship with Tituba. Mercy and Tituba have never liked each other. And Tituba, I think, from the start, regarded it as a huge mistake that Mercy became a witch. And lo and behold, Tituba's probably right. But at one point today, okay, first off, correct me if I'm wrong, because I think I heard this correctly. Did Tituba call Mercy a bitch?
Yes.
Yes.
She said, stay out of my way, you little bitch, because I made a note of that, because I was like, bitch, did they say that then?
Exactly. That's
And then
that
I was
same.
thinking about
They do a
what
lot
you
of
said.
things. They didn't say and do a lot of things.
Yeah, I'm wondering if they would have
Anne's
said
new
bitch.
But
hair dye.
I mean, bitch means dog, so I mean, maybe it, it was around then.
I would love to look up the historical accuracy of swear words and how they evolved over time. Maybe they were using it. Who knows? Either way, it points out just how strained that relationship is and just how much they don't like each other. But then what's weird is, in this Mercy-Tituba relationship, after these arguments happen, they've been happening for a few weeks, Tituba kind of brings Mercy into the fold to talk about the spider and shows her the spider, the familiar, the feeding, the little thing on her neck, whatever that was. And in truth, Tituba actually brings about her own downfall by letting Mercy in on something that she probably shouldn't have let her in on. So, I mean, is Tituba just trying to be nice to Mercy in that spider scene and try to say, okay, you're a witch too, so I'm going to show you one thing? Why would Tituba do that if they don't like each other so much?
She's peacocking.
What does that mean?
She's
Yeah.
showing off.
Yeah.
She was saying, like, because she said anything that you want to bring to the mistress, you can bring to me. And then she was like, this is my familiar. It's given to me by Satan. I have one you don't. Neener, neener.
Humble brag.
Yeah, so
Not so humble.
not at all. So that's what she was doing.
Peacocking.
Peacocking. I like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I believe that. And also,
peacock.
if you think about it, now that we know Tituba has a familiar, is the frog Mary's familiar now?
I would imagine.
Probably.
She said that. She said the familiar is, and when she said the familiar,
Well, familiars, are they're like creatures or any animal object thing that usually assist witches in their witchcraft.
And you have to feed them.
They're more like
the
guardians in a way for witches.
I did not know that.
And Mary has that nipple on her thigh with the frog,
feed
so that's
her.
absolutely, yeah.
So the frog is Mary's familiar.
Where is
yeah.
the frog right now, by the way? Is it just in the
Well-
woods?
Yeah, I would imagine so because Sibley, just chucked it. So
But did it come back?
It came back, and that's when I first heard the term familiar, because she said
Yeah.
the familiar is whatever it was, and I thought that, I guess
The
we should just
frog
know
came
what
back.
that means, but I knew it was the frog.
It came back to Mary.
Yeah, and then she
because
sent it about
frogs are kind of are the assistants to witches, so it makes sense that it would go back to its rightful owner.
yeah,
Yeah,
spiders too, I guess.
Ugh.
It's a good pet. It'll just come back to you. You can drop it off in the woods and it'll make its way back.
That's yeah, no.
How about that spider, guys?
That was horrible. That was absolutely horrible.
So,
I
you guys,
hate spiders.
I'm not ashamed to admit I am like truly arachnophobic and
Same here.
have spent thousands of dollars in therapy to get to a place where like I don't have to like run terrified if there's a just like house spider in the room. Not thrilled with it, but if this keeps like I can't watch the show anymore. Like I'm not joking. the tarantulas feeding from necks. Like, I can't. Do you hear me, Salem? I can't.
I don't know. The snake scared me more than the spider.
Spiders.
I love it all.
I can't stand spiders.
Horrifying.
I understand. I know people. I can believe it completely. Although, for the record, folks, Anna was quite the trooper in that screening room. We watch on a huge screen, and she was just like looking away. She's like, "Tell me when. Tell me when. Tell me when."
It was also
Honestly, I fast forwarded through it.
But you'd still have to be like looking at the screen to see when it's gone. No.
Nope. I'm like, okay, moving on. There's a spider. All right, and we will eventually find out what it's done in the episode.
I thought it was really cool graphics how they had the spider just like.
Oh, that's not cool at all whatsoever.
No.
What was that noise again, Jessie?
Moving on.
All right, let's move away from the spider. And last thing we want to talk about with Mercy, as Marisa calls her, Mercy the Merciless. Great name.
Thank you.
Kudos. I'll give you a fist bump. As we talk about Mercy the Merciless, let's talk a little bit about her horde of teenage girls, because we see the situation with Emily's dad gets out of jail, and it's kind of predictable what's going to happen to him until the very end when he gets literally torn limb from limb. I don't know that we saw that coming.
That was very graphic. It's like they transformed and they have these mighty powers now. But I hope that they will touch on it in the next episode. Like maybe one of the girls will get accused. God, I'm doing predictions again, but I'm just talking about like how nobody even acknowledged that he was missing, dead, or anything, and it just seems like increases on such a role that he would be on top of that. Like, who did this? Which was, just any. It just wasn't important, and I guess because he's a drunk, but...
Well, it's not just that he was, like, beaten in an alley. He was missing at least an arm that we saw, so...
Literally ripped.
Yeah.
Ripped off.
So so this is a murder that Mercy ordered. Whether she explicitly ordered it...
She encouraged it. I wouldn't say
encouraged
ordered, she encouraged it and let it happen.
But so, here's my question is, was it premeditated enough that Emily was sitting outside of her home, waiting for him to get home, so that he would beat her, so that they could kill her?
Yes.
Okay. I wasn't sure if she was just waiting at home to try to confront him to see what was going on, and they ended up coming upon him and killing him inadvertently, or was that
just
premeditated?
like waiting for a situation to happen to give them a rightful enough motive to kill him. Like saying, hey, I was still going to sell you for more alcohol. That itself is a low blow, but I don't think that's justifiable to actually murdering him in the way that those girls did.
Yeah.
Where were the girls staying? Like, where do all of them stay?
I think they've all got families.
Well, Emily doesn't, so where does she stay? Because she wasn't staying at the orphanage.
She's staying at her house then.
Or was she staying with a friend or something? Maybe that's a good question. I don't know where Emily was staying. Because we've never seen a mother, and I don't know what was going on. The dad was in jail for, I don't understand the whole temporal structure, but days or weeks or something.
Why couldn't she just stay in their house while he was in jail?
Remember, he came home and he went to Anne and said, I want Emily to come home. Tell her she needs to come home. I'm looking for her.
I know, but...
So she wasn't home, so we know she wasn't staying at home.
But that day, she wasn't, but she
could have been.
Well, I think it was just that she was avoiding her father. It was just that.
As she should. Did you notice her teeth got whiter?
Really?
I noticed that. They weren't as yellow.
They're still yellow, but not as yellow.
So let's talk inconsistencies. She's been brushing her teeth.
Hygiene's getting
Tamsin
better.
Merchant, Anne, has been dyeing her hair.
Yeah.
Much redder.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm not complaining, but...
But speaking of that, the way Mercy approached Anne in the graveyard was kind of shocking. We know she did because she's a witch and she's playing the new Mary and whatever, but in fact, in the social structure in Salem, there's no way that she would be able to be speaking to Magistrate Hale's daughter this way, in a sort of like threatening, sort of condescending,
super creepy.
Are they the same age, Mercy and Anne?
I think Mercy's a little bit younger.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Either way, you said it. It's the new Mary. You're absolutely right. Mercy is the new Mary in that scene. That's what Mary would have done, but not as creepy.
Right.
Yeah, I felt like Anne like came and she was trying to be authoritative and trying to be the adult in the situation, and Mercy was like, girl, let me show you, I'm in charge. Back down.
Jessie knows a thing or two about.
It was also the way Mercy was carrying herself, the way she walked exactly like Mary, and the way she emoted and be like, no, I got this. This is my part. This is I have control of this situation. Don't mess with us. Exactly the same behavior as Mary would have handled that situation.
I think Mercy was also trying to tell Anne, hey, basically, you can join us, or I'm in charge, go on now. Or trying to intimidate or scare her. Mm-hmm. But
show her power.
She did, yeah.
And Anne was terrified. Mm-hmm. Yeah, she left very quickly.
She backed out.
Yeah, but I don't think that Anne was there like trying to like be authoritative and like flex her. She was just there out of concern, Hey, your dad's out of jail, and maybe stay with us so that you will be safe.
Mercy and those little girls are a gang. That's a gang. They're banging. Yeah. Like, that's exactly what a gang would do. Like, they're closing ranks around their people. You can't come talk to our people to poison them or whatever. They're gangbangers.
You can't sit with us.
That's what it is. You said it to Anne, she lived. They said it to Henry Hopkins, he didn't live.
Yeah, no. Rest in peace, Henry.
No, don't rest in peace. He was a terrible dude.
He was a terrible dude, but the way he died was terrible.
Yeah, that's pretty brutal.
He's too drunk to notice.
Nobody. That's probably true.
He probably didn't feel a thing.
He didn't feel a thing.
He numbed the pain.
That's quite the hangover, though. All right, guys. Anything else about Mercy before we move on?
She is becoming scarier. I will say that.
Yeah, she's becoming a lot scarier. I have a feeling a lot of our predictions may have to do with Mercy. Before we get there, though, how about a little news and gossip?
Wait, we didn't talk about the kid.
Do you want to talk about the kid?
No, I guess you don't want to talk about it.
No, let's talk about the kid, Jessie. Tell us about the kid.
We were just talking about earlier that, he could be important and he could be really relevant to the future. John's made a big impact on him.
Sounds like you're making a prediction.
It is not a prediction. It's a fact.
Did you feel better? You get that out of your system?
Yes.
All right.
Okay, so fine. Prediction.
Now let's do news and gossip.
AfterBuzz TV News.
Man, that side of the table is salty today. What is going on? Strike 1 and 2, and from you, that was strike 3.
Don't worry, Team Bobby and Marisa.
Always. Don't mess with Team Bobby and Marisa. We won on Penny Dreadful. We're going to win on this show.
Are we ready to talk about news?
Let's do news.
Okay.
Anna, I believe you have something first, so go for it.
Just like a small thing, it was really cute. Xander Berkeley, Magistrate Hale tweeted a cute, this little picture of his kids with the hashtag World Cup in. So just his kids at a bar watching the World Cup. I just think that's adorable.
Yeah, I agree. Team USA.
I didn't know kids could sit at a bar.
Yeah, what kind of bar?
I think that's illegal.
That is not illegal in the States if they're if they are primarily serving food. If the food is their primary source of income.
That could be a diner. In fairness, I know a lot of diners that have a
big
bar,
pots. They probably cook something.
Don't serve alcohol.
Yeah, if they can also eat food at the bar, kids can sit at the bar. So anyway, that's it.
Anna's full of fun facts today. And if the kid gets too drunk at the bar, you can lift him up with your 2 fingers.
Yeah.
It only take 2 of you.
All right, couple more pieces of news. Sorry about that. I had to do it.
It's just stupid.
Yeah, I know.
It's
Just wish you weren't
retaliation.
so dumb.
All right, Glamour magazine, which I gotta be honest, I don't read Glamour, but they talked to Ashley Madekwe and Shane West about Salem. Asked them a couple things. One thing of note: spoilers for the rest of the season, in case you guys are interested in these last 4 episodes. Shane West said, "quote Things will not look as good for John and Anne toward the end, and things will look a lot better for John and Mary. I think in our finale, every single character on the show is going to change. They'll all be in a different spot than they were in the beginning." How profound.
How very informative.
Well, that says a lot. We already know Anne's going to be in a different spot, literally.
But the John and Mary thing is interesting because Anne was a little flirtatious with John today when he was chopping wood with Stephen with the kid. So Anne's been trying to get with John on some level of friendship or more. And if John and Anne, things aren't looking good and they're going to look better for John and Mary, we'll see.
Maybe Mary's stepping it up because you did see that look she gave when she saw Anne come out of the house. When John was like helping her, she's like, "Oh, you're here. Okay.
Exactly. A little catty.
I need to step up my game.
Glamour also asked Ashley Madekwe, some people have commented on the sexual tension with Mary and Tituba. How do you approach their relationship? And Ashley, who plays Tituba, said, quote, we were always told in the pilot a lot of their relationship is steeped in sex. So when they have to leave their bodies, the riding of the broomstick is metaphorical for other things. We kind of play it that they have been friends for a very long time and lovers on occasion. Sometimes they are nice to each other, sometimes they are not.
Interesting.
Very interesting.
Okay.
I don't even know what to add to that. And the third thing, the truth about Mary's baby. Remember the baby that she had, or whatever happened to the baby in the first episode? Glamour said, when are we going to find out the truth about the baby she aborted, or whatever it is? Maybe it is, Steven.
No.
It's probably not. And Ashley said, well, we know the truth that she went to the woods, they performed this ritual, she gave up the baby, and that was the sacrifice to become the witch. The audience knows, but John still doesn't know that she was pregnant. There's a deeper level to what happened in the woods that day, and we will find that out in episode 13.
Boom.
So there we go. Last piece of news. This is historical news. It is what, June 15th today? June 16th?
16th.
The 16th? Okay, good. Then a week ago, 6 days ago, on June 10th, it was the 322-year anniversary of Bridget Bishop being hanged. That was the first person to be hanged as a witch in Salem. That happened on June 10th, 1692. One interesting note about Bridget, she was portrayed in the show by a younger woman in her 20s or 30s, that brown-haired woman who was in the trial or whatever. The real Bridget Bishop, when she was hanged, they estimate was about 60 years old. So, a minor inconsistency, whatever, but fun fact, or not so fun fact, she was hanged 322 years and 6 days ago.
Wow.
All right.
And also, you know, we saw that hanging in tonight's episode at the very beginning, just like, yeah, Increase is a bad guy.
Bad dude.
To show his power, he will literally hang people.
Who are already dead.
I said she'd hang, didn't I?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's just following through on his word.
Maybe
That's not a
he
bad
just has
guy.
to be right.
Yeah.
Good guy, right?
Good guy.
Keep your word.
All right, guys, since we haven't been doing it all show long, why don't we get to predictions now?
And now, your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
Jesse, why don't you start?
I think Tituba is going to betray the witches because I think she kind of feels betrayed by Mary and Mercy. So I think she's, like, in the torture, we obviously know she's going to get tortured a little. I think she's going to either give some good information out, because we know in real life, you know, Tituba's story was that she lied a lot, said she did all this stuff so she could give people information and stay alive longer, and they didn't kill her. So I wonder if that's where, you know, the truth will come into the story and that'll happen.
Interesting.
Still sticking with Increase as a witch, and we talked about off air, but I'm just going to say on air that I think that John killed that boy Steven's parents.
That's a good prediction.
Yeah.
That was a good one.
The whole Indians. I think, going off of, you know, your news and gossip and everyone being in different positions at the end of the season, and definitely towards John and Mary, I think when they're going to try to go through this grand rite, because I said it before that I don't think Mary's going to, I think John's going to be there at the end to talk Mary out of it. Or, like, Mary might be in the midst of it, but John's the one who, like, talks and rationalizes with her and has her back off of it. That would make for a dramatic scene.
I like it. Yeah. I'm going to have my prediction be around Mercy, and I think Mercy is so power-hungry and drunk on power and murder and whatever she is, and she's really cool now that she's got that little harem of girls that are following her around doing her bidding. Mercy is going to find a way to make some or all of those girls real witches. And Mercy is going to screw everything up for these witches with a group of new world witches that aren't approved by Mary and Tituba and anybody else, and the whole witch thing is going to come apart because Mercy goes so rogue, creates her own clan, and fights with the old clans of witches as well as the mortal people.
Do you think Mercy's crazy enough to try to go through the grand rite?
Oh, yeah.
Herself? And the other girls?
That's a good
100%.
What if Mary doesn't go through the grand rite, but Mercy's the one that tries to do it?
Mercy does not give a bleep.
When they do the grand rite, they probably already said this, but what will happen? Like, what will happen?
Darkness will unleash upon the earth.
But, like, will everybody die? Like, what? like what's the outcome?
Eventually. It's not good to be immortal. I mean, the devil shows up. That's what it is. They're summoning.
And I know
Yeah, there's
something
some-
The
happens
underworld.
because the old witches, like their eyes are gone and all that kind of stuff. So
But
I'm
like when
guessing
you
that's, like-
open the portal to hell, everything is gonna spill out.
It's hell on earth.
Literally.
like lava.
Like,
Yes, like lava.
like plagues, other demons, anything terrible will literally unleash upon the earth.
Anybody have predictions about what it is that they have against Mary? That now the Malums no longer use
You mean
it?
those two older witches?
Yeah.
I don't, do you?
I don't.
I think the older witches might try to just find another witch to go through the ground, right, and not Mary. Be gone with you.
Well, because at first they were very excited to see the trinket, and then, as they called it, and then something appeared in their cauldron, and they're like, never mind.
Well, they're also really mad at Mary for killing Rose, right?
Yeah.
So I wonder if they're like that is kind of like against like witch code to kill another witch. So I wonder if that's what they have on her too.
It's just like a gang, man. It's just like a gang.
Yeah. Don't kill your own.
Not that I know.
Don't kill your own.
It's sort of like cheese ball gang.
Wow. All right, on that note,
no.
social media links right now, Twitter and Facebook or whatever else, where can we find you guys?
You can follow me on Twitter and on Instagram at Serafini TV, and Bobby and I also do the Penny Dreadful after show.
You can follow me at Koppel for Mayor, KOPPELFORMAYOR, and I'll be doing Orphan Black in like 10 minutes. But
And you can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Miss Jessie Owens, and also you can see me and Bobby on Catfish this Wednesday.
That's right, I'm filling in on Catfish on Wednesday. I cannot wait for that because I've been catfishing girls like crazy myself to get ready for that. I'm on... Go ahead.
And also Kardashians on Sundays.
That's true. Kardashians is a highlight of my week, besides, of course, this show with you lovely three. I am at Bobby DeMuro on Twitter and at Mr. Bobby DeMuro on Instagram. Thank you guys for watching today on the Salem After Show right here on AfterBuzz TV. Remember, AfterBuzzTV.com for everything you could possibly need. Marisa has been working literally 24/7 to get that website back up. And I think, is it all the way up? Is everything normal again?
Everything is currently back right now. We still have a few more shows, but all the current shows are up.
There you go. Reward her work with page views, AfterBuzzTV.com.
And ratings and comments.
And ratings and comments and all that good stuff. Thank you guys for watching. We will see you next week.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.
Thank you for watching AfterBuzz TV on YouTube. For more of your favorite after shows and interviews, subscribe to our channel here, and be sure to share your opinion on the episode in the comment section below here. We'd love to see what you guys are buzzing about. Thanks again. Buzz you later.